Okay, so then again, welcome everybody for coming on to Geoengineering for Canada's call tonight. It's our legendary Geo Talk, we call it that way. So we started our group back in November of 2022. And the story behind Geoengineering Free Canada is my travels down to, or actually into Kelowna. So I was traveling Highway 33, that is coming from the Kootenays into Kelowna, and I was looking up the skies and I couldn't believe what I saw, and this was really absolutely too much. So then I thought we got to do something about it, and this is how Geoengineering Free Canada got kicked off, actually, together with a friend of mine out of the Kootenays. And so yeah, and here we are. And then this particular friend, she found Jim's website, Jim's climateviewer.com website, and I made the contact, and here we are. And since then we're really good friends, and I really appreciate his work so much because it's absolutely incredible. And then through Jim, and I found Paula. Through Jim, I found Nick. Actually, no, Nikki contacted us. She sent us an email, and I was like, an email from Nevada? Where the heck is this coming from? So who is this? So she obviously found us. So we have obviously done a good job promoting our group. And so this is how we got in contact with Nikki Florio, beheroic.com. So this is another website that you guys really should check out. And then through Jim, then we found Paula, and through Paula, we found Elana, and Nikki, we found Elana. So this is how it's all connected, and this is how it all started. And so I'm absolutely thrilled that we have amazing people here. And then again, through Elana, last but not least, we found Jean Manning. And Jean Manning is the author of, a co-author of Angels Don't Play This Harp. And and this is how we found each other. And since then, it's became a really great movement, and in the geoengineering world, I believe so. And yeah, so there is still people coming on. Isn't that amazing? So that's really cool. Yeah, so Elana, welcome to the show tonight. And I would like to have you introduce yourself, please, because you probably will do such an amazing job, and much better than I ever will. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay, can you remind me how long the show is? How long this is?
So we schedule it for 2 hours, but
Okay.
if it's going, 2 hours, then it's going 2 hours.
Okay, all right. And I brought a PowerPoint in case I needed it. It's just something I'll kind of whip through and use this and that, but I don't have to do that. I don't know the level of knowledge here as far as how much people know about geoengineering itself. Just let me know, all right? Okay, so
I want to see it.
Huh? You
would
like
like to see it.
Okay.
I like to
all
see
right.
it.
So just briefly, I've been in this movement, gosh, not as long as Jim. I came on maybe 14 or 15 years ago. I came into it, and I mainly came through Clifford Carnicom, the independent scientist who was working on collecting data back in I'd say from the mid-90s on. And he began the study of Morgellons in 1999 when he realized that these fibers were falling from the sky in the wake of the jets in northern New Mexico that were leaving long trails. Unlike a contrail, it was long-lasting and turned into a sort of thin cirrus cloud cover. So from that, he had dishes out and he was collecting whatever was coming down. He was doing, because his background is primarily chemistry and electromagnetics, he was doing a lot with chemicals to figure out exactly what was going on. And he knew it didn't look too good because he could read those chemical signatures coming out the backs of jets. And the signatures looked, he didn't know exactly which chemicals they were, but they certainly were not ice crystals and water vapor and particulate matter. So that's where I started. I met him at a breakfast that somebody invited me to, thinking that I might want to talk with him. Because at that time I was writing a series of books that are actually fictional works. I chose to do it in fiction because it's about the United States of America, which was completely thrown off course with John Kennedy's very public assassination. And so I had files on everything you could possibly imagine, because I was digging in the dirt, as Peter Gabriel sang years ago. I was looking to see what was really going on in the United States, because I knew that we were being lied to. So while doing that, I had a file on chemtrails, and I had a file on HAARP, the High Frequency Auroral Active Auroral Research Project. So at that point, to show you how ignorant I was, I didn't even know they were connected yet. I hadn't put that together. And so I started working with Clifford after the breakfast. And because I had a biology undergrad, it was my second major, I was just a few hours short of getting a BS. I could look through the microscope and know what I was looking at. And we began to see what now is known as synthetic biology. So I wrote a chapter on Clifford, and to my knowledge, it is the most extensive written work on his work to this date, which is a very sad commentary on this classified project called Geoengineering that we just don't know anything about, very little about. Even this morning, I was called by a media person in Holland, and I could tell by his questions that he didn't know much of anything, and that his media had been pretty mums of the word as well as ours. So I'm constantly being shocked by that, because, of course, I am interested in the truth. As I'm talking to people now who have the same desire to know the truth. I mean, why would you waste your time, your limited life on the earth, lying? Why would you want to do that? Because you won't find out what you need before you die. That would avail you of higher consciousness. Just didn't make any sense to me. Still doesn't. But we know how things go here. So I now am writing books. That's a long time ago that Clifford and I met. We still talk on the phone for long periods and short periods. Talked to him yesterday, and he is doing new research, because both he and I have seen the relationship between what we saw as Morgellons, badly named, by the way, back in the early 2000s is when I joined him, around 2005, and the vaccinations, so-called, that have been going on for the last 4 years. There is a definite connection. It can be posited chemically. It can be looked at from various angles. And it is obvious that Morgellons and Lyme disease, which preceded Morgellons by just a few years, both appear to have been developed at Fort Detrick, Maryland base there, where there was a biowarfare lab, we now call them. At that time, it was a biological lab. And so he is doing a great deal of experimentation right now regarding this synthetic biology that is being dropped from the sky and is also in the inoculations that would include infant inoculations. And so it just seems to both of us, we're definitely on the same page with this, that we kind of had to drop everything else we were doing and really work hard on this, because it looked to be that life on Earth is under attack. And it wasn't so much that we were interested in nailing exactly who was involved in the attack and who wasn't. It certainly, there was enough history of the various wars we've had from the world wars and Vietnam in the 20th century and into the 21st century, the wars that we've had since, mainly in the Middle East. That experimentation has been hot and heavy in the synthetic biology that has been going on. So that's really kind of where I think I'm going to end up is, my first book came out in 2014, Chemtrails, HAARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth. I call that a primer for anyone who wants to understand HAARP, other ionosphere keeters, in a simple way. I'm not nearly as thorough as Jim Lee is, and I often send people to him to find out about how the jets work, what's going on in the jet engine, et cetera, et cetera. And I also send people to Harald Kautz. He used to be Harald Kautz Vella, but now he's Harald Kautz. He's a German scientist, a multidisciplinary scientist, and he too has very good material on the combustion engines in the jets, and he goes very far into synthetic biology and particularly photons. So then, of course, we've mentioned Tony Pantalaresco. I've known Tony for years. We've had 2 arguments in which I told him to basically leave me alone and not talk to me anymore. And then we resolved that and got back on track. I love Tony. And I don't know that people here know, but he has been viciously attacked several months ago and is still recovering. So, bless his heart. He has given everything particularly to individuals who write him. I see it that we all sort of took a big clump of the dragon in the living room, and one person worked on, the tail, another one worked on the front paws, another one worked on the fire coming out of the mouth, and that sort of thing, because it's such a big dragon that no one could have really taken it on themselves. And so Clifford Carnicom has done painstaking scientific method to isolate various components of this assault from the sky. And he has mainly published through the internet all his papers at carnicominstitute.org. Very important place. There are about a dozen recent papers up for his what he's been studying recently, as he works with Dr. Anna Mihalcha, MD, PhD, who lives 15 miles from me. Wouldn't you know, life would just have that happen. And I too work with the group in Australia that Anna works with under Dr. David Nixon, MD, they're doing live blood analysis through a very sophisticated, expensive microscope. So we all find each other eventually, even though it's not a centralized top-down scene like like Kaiser or something would have. We are all individuals. We are all bringing something different to the table, and we share it and we analyze it to the best of our ability, given that we don't have those classified papers. That would be nice to have. So that's sort of how it's gone for me over the last 13, 15 years. Had you asked me 20, 25 years ago, would I be writing a series on geoengineering, I would not even have known how to respond. I wouldn't even have known the word. And even to this day, most people do not recognize the term geoengineering. They do recognize the term chemtrails when I mention it. And, you know, for anyone here, obviously, the chemtrails are connected. The fellow this morning, the reason I'm laughing is he said, are chemtrails connected to geoengineering? I'm like, what am I dealing with here? So, so that's that story. Let me see if I can get my PowerPoint up just to get ready, and you can take it wherever you want, because I would like to show a few things. And really, please, once I get going, I'm like an escalator. You know, please feel free to guide me in different ways. Now, if I press play, this is where I get confused. All right, so if you could lead me through this, I have this up. I don't think you can see this yet, can you?
No, so I made you a co-host, Elana. So when you go on the bottom of your screen, there is a tagline and there's a green button that reads share screen.
Right.
So when you click on share screen, then you can pull it up.
Well, it's interesting. You say there's a green button, and this happened to me before. I do not see a green button.
Okay.
It should be next to participants, then chat, then share screen. It's got an up arrow icon. If you put your mouse near the bottom of Zoom, it'll pop up if it's not there.
Okay, so I'm seeing mute, stop video, security, reactions, apps, whiteboards, notes, more, and then I see leave. That's it, Jim. That's all I see.
You're on your Macintosh, aren't you?
I am, but I'm not in the, should I do the full window?
Yeah, whenever you share screen, you want to share the entire screen, not an app.
But should I press the play button on my PowerPoint at this point before I go into this? I haven't pressed that.
I wouldn't. I would just go ahead and you have a second monitor?
No, I'm a poor girl here.
Oh. Here I am with 3 monitors thinking, oh my gosh.
Oh,
Okay,
now I've got the full screen and there's the share screen. So I'm going to press it.
There
The
you
green
go.
one.
Rock on.
All right. Okay. All right. Now, keynote. Yeah, this is it. Okay. So I'm pressing keynote, where my PowerPoint is. But I don't see, what's this? Oh, I see.
Got half of it.
And only so you can see half of it.
No, yeah, right. This is because I'm not in it, actually. I want to go
Oh,
back. I want to get out of this. How do I do that, Jim? Okay, here it comes, but it's not on play yet. I'm going to press
yes.
play now.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Now I've got you guys over here. You look very pretty, but I don't really need you. So can I just get rid of you somehow? Little boxes that are impeding my ability to read what I have here.
You go up to view and get your speaker.
It's the button all the way on the left. It should be like a little dash that says hide thumbnail video.
Yeah, I don't see that.
It should be at the top of the box with all the webcams.
Get her number. I've got this.
Or you can
Okay.
just like drag it off the screen.
Oh, I can drag it off the screen?
Yeah, just
Oh,
hide
wait,
it
I can
like at the
minimize
bottom.
it too. I'll minimize it.
Yeah,
There we
minimize
go.
it. That's what I was talking about. Okay.
Okay. All right. I think I'm set, right? Okay. So I'm going to go really fast. So because, well, I want to get from where I started to the synthetic biology. That's sort of the area I'm going to go through, just to show you a few pictures that'll make it more real, because I don't know the level of understanding that all of you have. So, all right. So because this is geoengineered, or as Clifford calls it, bioengineered synthetic biology, we're going to, let me see how that, okay, that. So geoengineering is the intentional manipulation of global scale Earth systems. Fifth generation warfare, which fits with this, as I hope to prove, is a warfare conducted primarily through non-kinetic military actions such as social engineering, misinformation, cyber attacks, and emerging artificial intelligence, smart technologies. I wanted you to know about this. A lot of people don't know about it. It's very important. MISO, which is, it doesn't mean the soup. This is the revision of the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948, done by the then President Obama in 2012, basically has changed what we used to call PSYOP military operations into what they now call MISO, Military Information and Support and Operations. And this basically, at the bottom, you'll see, gives the military industrial intelligence complex the legal right to lie and propagate domestic propaganda. And that's important to know that, you know, when you're reading things or you're learning things or you're listening to people who may or may not know that there are lies in the subject of geoengineering, it's important for us to know that because we're all learning given how much this has been hidden. Okay. These are the 7 operations that Clifford Carnicom presented in 2005 in his excellent, still salient film, Aerosol Crimes. And let me just go through those. So first of all is the weather engineering. And I boldly come forward and say that given the artificial intelligence relationship between the geoengineering that's going on and the weather, and this is weather, not climate I'm talking about here, all the weather is basically controlled. And it comes off the South Pacific. One of my favorite mental pictures is
the weather.
Alfred, Alfred, could you mute your mic unless you have a question later?
Thanks, Jim. So the weather engineering sort of, if you want to just follow it, but let's just do a mental picture. This is not always how it is done, but this is my favorite way of getting a handle on what we're talking about. Is there is weather, real weather, arising in the South Pacific. And this is Mother Nature weather. And it is quickly taken up by, in my opinion, the US Navy, Merchant Marine, and other players as something that they want to take north all the way up the coast, about 200 miles off the coast. And they use lasers. They drag it beyond California, which, as you know, has been basically in drought, even though it is getting rain from time to time. What is happening with the rain because of the aluminum oxide that has fallen on us for over 2 decades in the particulates that are coming down from the sky, it makes it, it clogs it up. And so you can get floods very easily there because it's not, the water is not, simply not absorbed because of the aluminum oxide. And this is something that we have seen also, but you didn't recognize it because no one directed your attention to it in the California fires, is they have a aluminum oxide pounded deeply into the soil. Biologists have said that it's probably at least 6 inches of aluminum oxide at the top in the topsoil. So they drag the weather up past California, past Oregon. Oregon too has had some drought, and above me, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. north of me and in British Columbia, where you all are, is the overarching jet stream is sort of parked over Vancouver Island.
Gonna cost you.
And yes, and that also. And so you have a loop there that then they can actually put the weather on the loop, on the jet stream, and take it east. Again, by means of electromagnetic energy, and they can create weather for the mainland United States. That could mean drought in Kansas. That could also be a tornado in Kansas. It could be anything that they want. Like we just went through the polar vortex scene one more time, as described excellently by the chemtrails. What is his name? And we see how and I know
Pacific
Jim,
Redwood.
no, not Pacific Redwood. No, it's the chemtrail. I'm sorry, I'm blocking his name. It's just a moniker. I don't know who he really is. He's always been very private.
Weather
and
War 101.
No, I'll send it to you though, because
Okay.
I think it's the best thing out on how the polar vortex is created. So they take the weather east, and that's kind of how that happens. The weather is always moving west to east, unless it's forced to go east to west, as it happened in the California fires, by the way, making wind rise up and blow west. It was very unusual and very, very telling as to what was going on. So that's that. Down to the chemical electromagnetic, that's a lot of experiments going on in the atmosphere now that it has been properly ionized. And that is primarily done, as I'll show in a few minutes, through the HAARP capabilities and the domination.
Suzanne,
now,
your mic is unmuted and we can hear you.
and the domination of the ionosphere, and to some extent the magnetosphere as well. They can now perform many types of, and I think one of my favorite things that's being done a lot in our atmosphere is plasma. There are a lot of plasma experiments going on, and we of course don't know much about plasma, and there are all sorts of untruths in what is taught, in my opinion, what is taught in engineering schools. So that's very important that is going on. That's one of the special operations of geoengineers. The third one is planetary geophysical operations. And in that, I would have to include the California fires, the Maui fire, etc. I would have to do that. And I would lay out my story as to how that is being done and why exactly it is geoengineered. But it has to do with planetary geophysical operations. Then there's the directed energy warfare operations, and that one's a bit sticky because up till now we've thought of like missiles are directed energy and things you can see. Now we have energy that can be directed in a variety of ways, and also energy systems on the Earth and above us in the atmosphere, for example, satellites, which can be drawn upon for targeting with directed energy. So it's more complex now. And then the fifth operation is the surveillance neural operations. That neural operations to me means mind control, but it also means simply the ability to run the human beings on the Earth. And that is definitely what is being set up right now. And they have that technology in spades. And that's pretty much what I'm writing about now. Then the sixth operation is the biological transhumanism operations. I'm also writing about that. The shift from molecular biology to digital biology, the shift from natural biology to synthetic artificial biology. This is tremendously important because it will lead us directly into transhumanism, and most of us do not realize it has already begun, and we all are subject to it because of the epigenetic approach they took through the environment with geoengineering. It's highly, highly important to understand the relationship between that has been going on now for many years, if I want to include everything. But this operation that I spent 4 books, I'll be done with the 4th very shortly. These 4 books all talk about the Project Cloverleaf and how far it has gone with all these other disciplines, electromagnetics, electrical engineers, IEEE, all of it. It's and the biological, the big pharma, the big medicine, all of these things now are coordinating together for the birth of and running of the transhumanism. So then the 7th one is detection obscuration of exotic propulsion systems. This one's really interesting because we have a lot of people say, well, there are UFOs, there aren't UFOs, and really, to me, I never feel I have to go off planet in order to bring that subject into its proper perspective, because we have been working to build exotic propulsion systems, and we have done a great deal with that, but we have kept most of it secret because, of course, it's weaponry. So that's enough of that. I'll be moving on here. Let's see. Okay, there's the famous HARP, acres of phased array antenna. The phased array antenna is the name of the game now. You've got one if you won't own a cell phone. I don't own a cell phone, never will. That is tremendous for what is called dual use. You've got it on one hand, it's very convenient. Builds a fantastic product. You can go a long way with the radio waves and microwaves, etc. But again, the other hand, it is a weapon system, and there is no doubt in my mind, but that HARP is one of the ionosphere keeters in the world. We've got lots of them now, and it is a very, very potent weapon system. And I think you saw it. I agree with Judy Wood. She never said it was HARP because it wasn't just HARP, but it was definitely there on 9/11. And that is a great book. If you don't have it yet, Where Did the Towers Go? I highly recommend you get it. Okay, there's Nick's and Jean Manning's book, Angels Don't Play This Harp. It was when I was reading that book that I had my first visit from a military chopper over my house here in Olympia that spent about 5 minutes intimidating me, I guess, or maybe putting my XY coordinates down. I don't know. But it was because I'd been reading this book that I deserved a visit from the military. It was the only visit I'm aware of having deserved. And then here's Rosalie Bertell, fantastic woman, scholar, nun, an epidemiologist who wrote Planet Earth, the Latest Weapon of War, a critical study. She's dead now, but my God, she put together the lion's share of just about everything I know, other than the synthetic biology move. The ability of the HARP Space Lab rocket combination to deliver very large amounts of energy comparable to a nuclear bomb anywhere on Earth via laser and particle beams is frightening. Yes, it's very true. And then this is, I want to show this because there's a lot of argument about the disposition of HARP. Oh, there is no HARP anymore. I actually read that still. There was a time by 2015 when they had come to terms with the University of Alaska at Fairbanks to take over HARP. But that's only because our universities are all pretty much whores who have gotten into bed with the military. And they do all sorts of things for the military, but that does not mean that they are in charge.
This morning, very interesting. I wanted to ask a couple of questions here about HARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. Several of you at the table have a little bit of a piece here. As you know, this is located up in Alaska. It's currently funded by the Air Force Research Lab. It was formerly funded by the Office of Naval Research. One of the prime customers is DARPA, which is currently running experiments at the facilities there. So questions to several of you this morning. I'm told by the president of the University of Alaska that the Air Force has pulled its support for the facility, and they're taking steps to demolish it or take it down this summer. He's making the argument that there is other opportunities for us, and is trying to find a path where the university might be able to take title to the facility. I'd like to start with you, Dr. Prabhakar. I understand that a lot of folks here on the committee probably don't understand what HARP does. I think most Alaskans don't really know what HARP does or why the agency is involved in it. So a very brief explanation, and then a more direct question. Would you be disappointed, or would you lose something if HARP were to go away?
Senator Murkowski, as I think you know, one of our programs has been using the HARP facility for the research that it's pursuing. And my understanding is that we did get value out of that interaction. But the P in DARPA is projects, and we're not in the business of doing the same thing forever. So very naturally, as we conclude that work, we're going to move on to other topics. So it's not an ongoing need for DARPA, despite the fact that we had actually gotten some good value out of that infrastructure in the past.
Understood. Then to Dr. Walker and Mr. Schaefer, then, Dr. Walker, your agency is currently running the facility. I've mentioned that it's our understanding through the president of UAF that plans are to move forward and demolish the facility this summer. So the question to you is that accurate? Can you explain why? And then perhaps to both you and Mr. Schaefer, is there any benefit in exploring a potential relationship with the University of Alaska to perhaps take over the HARP?
Thanks, Senator. The Air Force has gotten great value out of HARP in the past. They took over from the Navy and managed it, and actually did a number of experiment campaigns up there. And have finished our work that we were interested in doing up there. We've moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which the HARP is really designed to do, is to inject energy into the ionosphere to be able to actually control it. And that work has been completed. The Air Force.
So that's the part I wanted you to hear. The U.S. Air Force has control over the ionosphere. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, the ionosphere starts at about, I think, 25 miles up and goes all the way to the magnetosphere, which goes far, far out into space. And so we really get our ionization out of the ionosphere, and we utilize it for weather. We utilize it for those experiments I just ran through that are happening. So it's invaluable, and its ability to, as a weapon, as part of the weapon arsenal of the ionosphere keeters in general in the northern latitudes, is tremendous, because you can bounce off, and the fellow who talks about this the most worked for the Royal Navy of UK, and that would be Barry Trower, Trower, a brilliant guy who was trained by the Royal Navy in electromagnetics. He understands exactly how to have the ionosphere where you can bounce signals off of the ionosphere and send them to any coordinates that you may want that to be the target area, it's tremendous. And is what we just heard regarding the ability of HARP with various other instruments of the system, how it can be much more powerful than a nuclear bomb. So I just wanted you to hear that. It's still going on, it's still active, it's still being used, and maybe University of Alaska is involved, but so is the military. All right, there's
before we go any further, could I jump in real quick, Elana, on
yeah,
that?
yeah, go ahead, Jim.
So I don't talk about this a lot, but Dr. Chris Fallon became the director of HARP at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. We had many interactions on Twitter before we became closer friends and then graduated to having cell phone conversations. I put together a PowerPoint presentation on how HARP works and all the things it does. And because he is the director of it and teaches on it, I sent it to him for him to grade it. He came back with, I agree with everything you said there except the last 2 pages. And of course, the last 2 pages were about the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear meltdown and the 9.0 earthquake that happened while they were creating, TM, were creating a 2.5 hertz ultra low frequency wave. When Chris left the University of Alaska Fairbanks, he told me a couple things that were previously unknown to the public. I shared this with Nick Begich via a Zoom call that because of Gene Manning and Nick's book, they actually named the 6 engines that run the diesel engines that power the ionospheric research instrument, the actual antennas at HARP. They named them Angels 1 through 6.
Oh, wow.
After his book. Tragically, I was supposed to do an interview. He had agreed to come on, and do an interview on my YouTube channel, but then he went to Kirtland Air Force Base. And I don't need to explain anything to Elana about that.
Yep. Yep.
So he went to work for the Air Force Research Lab. And it wasn't until he left the Air Force Research Lab that he was being, and even while he was there, he was telling me a lot of stuff about ionospheric heaters on satellites, the current capabilities of the HARP facility. Only 3/4 of the array is actually operational right now. There's a whole lot more I could say about that, but I just wanted to summarize with this.
Mhm.
Chris Fallon, after he made it out of the AFRL, started to work with me on a project to track ionospheric modification using things other than ionospheric heaters.
Mhm.
And we were going through my map. We were working on things like high-powered FM radios and missile defense radars and things like that that were acting as ionospheric heaters. And then I got an email, and we had a 3-hour conversation at Christmas time. And I got an email about a month ago from a friend with Chris Fallon's obituary. And he died at the age of 46 years old. I'm 47. He was
Yeah.
perfectly healthy and happy in December and gone in an instant.
Yeah. Very interesting timing.
The thing that's interesting about the video, and I can confirm this from my own research, and I too worked from Rosalie Bertel's work up till, my own education to verifying it, a lot of it with Chris, that when John Heckscher was saying, we've moved on to other ways to manage the ionosphere.
Mhm.
Specifically, they were talking about how they used polar electrojet heating to create ultra low frequencies. They were heating the auroral electrojet.
Okay.
And that's why it was located on a magnetic field line. They were able to shoot electricity directly into it and tune the Earth into a virtual antenna.
Yeah.
But then they had a breakthrough and they came up with a new way to do it. and this is called ionospheric current drive. And because they found this new way of heating the ionosphere that no longer required being at the North Pole, they can do it anywhere in the world. So they
Wow.
they can put it in. Specifically, Dennis Papadopoulos from the University of Maryland did an entire presentation on this, and he called it the straw man. You can't make this up. Straw man high frequency array, where they would put a mobile ionospheric heater on a barge so that
Yeah.
they could move it anywhere in the world at any time.
Yeah.
And that's where the current technology is. It's in space, it's behind Jeeps, like Mirage, the microwave ionospheric reconfiguration and ground-based emitter. It's on boats so that it's because of the strategic importance of the space fence and being able to control the ionosphere. They don't want our adversaries knowing the exact location of HARP in Gacona, Alaska, because it'll be the first thing they take out with a missile. So it's only logical that they would move on to other ways to manage the ionosphere by making them mobile.
Very good. Very good. Thanks for that, Jim. Gosh. Very good. All right. So here's Billy Hayes. I owe him a debt for the second book, Under an Ionized Sky, From Chemtrails to Space Fence Lockdown. Billy was very helpful to explain how the space fence was set up, primarily through Lockheed Martin's patents that it controls. And Billy was just invaluable to me. He was an MK Ultra survivor from childhood. He was run by the CIA his entire life. We became quite close in the sense of over the internet. I never met Billy in the flesh, but we would go on lots of, we did, I don't know, maybe a dozen or more radio interviews, the two of us. And it got to where I could not continue with him because he would be given a grand mal seizure as soon as the interview started. And I felt that he was going to die on the air, and I would never forgive myself. So I stopped doing those, and Billy, of course, did not like that. He was very attached to me. He's a lovely person. Just never really had his own life, you know. That's the way it tends to go. So I thank Billy. Okay, that's backward. I need to go forward. Okay, another loss. Michael Murphy. He did the two films. He directed one, and he was involved in the other. Under Why in the World Are They Spraying? What in the World Are They Spraying was the first one, and then Why in the World Are They Spraying? And then he was working on the third film when he fell and collapsed into drug addiction, homelessness, targeting, everything you could possibly think of, which prevented the film was 2/3 done and never was finished by him. But the 2/3 that is completed, other than the fact that a lot of the people in it are not named, is out and about, thanks to some activists who found a copy. So Michael died in Chicago a couple of years ago. And you know, I feel he was killed in order to prevent the completion of the third film. And I'll stop there because there is more, I know, but that's enough. Okay, then this is kind of how what is called interferometry as a weapon system. This is what HARP can do. Think of those two beams coming from those two ionospheric heaters in the northern latitudes, going over the target area and to where when the beams cross, then you have the real juice in what is crossing over each other. I had a funny thing happen in Santa Fe when I lived there. I was at the it's wonderful Cowgirls bar that I loved down in old Santa Fe. and having a beer and talking to people. And the guy sitting 2 away from me, turned out he worked at Los Alamos Labs, which is right outside Santa Fe. And I said, well, gosh, it's so great to meet you. I have a burning question. If you could answer it, I'd really be happy. What exactly is interferometry? And he picked his beer up. He went to the very end of the bar. I took that as I can't talk about that. So here it is. This would be what it can do. This would be what happened at 9/11 if indeed we're right about the exotic weapon used there, not just interior detonations, which also would have accompanied it just as a safeguard. So that, okay, there's the jet stream. For those who don't know, a jet stream, big snaky thing going straight across, well, not straight. And then we all know this. There's nothing to see here. I just wanted to show that it's not just the coming out of the combustion chambers. There's generally multiple trails coming out. And those are the chemical trail distributor. And then here is the sounding rocket launches, which leave an amazing chemical signature, which people think, oh, such a pretty sunset. Rocket launch delivering lithium. Lithium tends to be white, sort of an opal looking white over a dense population. Again, these are generally done over populations. Okay, rocket exhaust is a dusty plasma. There are certain models for smart dust, because smart dust is very much a nanotechnology created by the human being. But the dusty plasma, we're very familiar with that. And then here we have some plasma. I mentioned how there's experiments going on, and you'll see here this part. My guess is someone's on a laptop somewhere, and they're moving the plasma clouds around, and maybe bringing them all together so that there's a great deal of plasma, and then moving it in a variety of ways. Maybe fun and games, maybe serious exercise, but that is plasma. And the clouds above you are plasma, as a rule. Okay. Here we see, again, you know this, if you're putting out frequency, it'll have a pulse to it. And we see these before earthquakes. We see a very serrations in the sky.
This.
No, that.
Oh.
Jack Cruz, heart surgeon, always has a very terse comment for things. He who controls the electromagnetic spectrum on Earth controls the living things on the surface of the planet. This I'm just going to show.
Scientists discovered a human-made barrier around Earth, protecting against the natural particle radiation in space. They believe the bubble was formed by very low-frequency waves, or VLFs. VLFs have been found to interact with the particles in space, affecting how and where they move. VLFs are used for radio communications, including with submarines, because they can penetrate deep into the ocean. The waves can also travel far into the environment around Earth. By understanding more about how VLF transmissions.
So I like this little video. So far, it's the only thing I see that sort of explains at least the top layer of the space fence. That is this ring around the planet that is being made with metal particulates and I assume other things. And this makes it sound like, whoa, we just discovered this. I have no idea how it was formed up there, but it's really cool because, you know, we can do this and that. So this is very, very important to think of the space fence, which I think you probably call the smart grid. it's on top of us. It's sandwiching us between. We have the infrastructure that's explained very thoroughly in the second book, Under an Ionized Sky. And then you have the top layer, which heretofore did not have, I don't know how many thousands of satellites are up there now, but we have a lot of, especially CubeSats, a lot of CubeSats are up there from Elon Musk and others. There are, Google has its satellites up there, the military has its satellites up there. It's really crowded up there. So, but we're right between, we live between all the things that are part of it, part of the space fence on the Earth. And they are all basically calibrated together. That's the key, is the calibration is very centralized, is very controlled. And that's what makes it so that I can honestly say to you that we are all plugged into it. No matter how careful we are, no matter how in the rural areas we live, we are all plugged into it. Again, I remind you of this very thin little bit of the of how much we can see, how much we can experience of the full electromagnetic spectrum. We and you look at that and go, wow, why would we have been made this way? Why weren't we made so that we could have more input from the full spectrum, going all the way from megahertz, from microwaves to the gamma rays? Well, it's just the way it is. That our senses are right there. And that's why we use instruments, and those who control the instruments, which are generally very expensive, have so much power. That's just the way it goes. Here, again, more on that. Let's keep going. This was the old system, the Nano Bio Info Cogno. They used this, and there. And here's Julian.
And so if you put those together, you can effectively triangulate someone's activities and behavior. And I don't think by chopping out the amusement or adding kind of chart of a thing, you can make that much of a difference. And increasingly less. And in terms of the Internet of Things, there's research prototypes now, which I assume are being used by a very small Earth on the surface that you can just put in paper or put paint on the wall that are powered by the GSM station. And so they operate as the GSM radio wave passes through them. It gives them enough power for a very small amount of time to get on. Obviously, that tendency is going to continue. You know, like the integrated things, it's if you like, intelligent evil dot scattered everywhere, like confetti in everything. So
Yeah, I wanted you to hear that intelligent evil dust, because that is basically the dust in your homes that you may dust the shelves or something. And you'll notice that the dust of today is very different from the dust of yesterday. So let's be aware of that. We're surrounded by and breathing in smart dust at every turn, and so are our children. What is this? This is what I told you about the fires and about this. This is Jamie Lee, who just died after 2 years of being heavily targeted electromagnetically. He's talking with a nanotechnology PhD, retired.
And you can see that there's multiple deployments of different aspects that were used. And what I would say, every fire that's been since probably 2017 or 2016, and they all have the same trajectory all the way up until now. I think I'd like to think that the hand was a little overplayed with this last fire, and I really would like to will wake up from this. If it truly is an attack and it's not anything else but that. But there's a huge so there's a huge problem with that because now you have on the other side, the programming with that blue light, whether it be on switch to the bigger font, it also could be programmed just alliance to have people just completely disregard what's going on. And that's a scary thought because if you look at the way the light works with the eyes and even the Wi-Fi itself, it's so easy to program a light or make you feel so in a specific way with the right technology.
Wi-Fi, so people know, is a two-way communication device. They use the rate of the light that's going on and off at a very high intensity to program you or read anything in your home. I mean, this is Alexa on steroids. Every LED light is a Wi-Fi machine that's recording, adjusting frequency modulations. I mean, how many people have LEDs? How many stores have LEDs? Everybody, right?
Everyone does, yeah. And so being in the industry, I had when LEDs first came out, 20 years ago when I was manufacturing the very small vacuum chambers at the time, they were growing these controlling the actual chip that they use to apply to these items. They polarize them. There's been an electricity through, if you want to call it, through the light of any diode in one direction, and it transmits like that. Whatever frequency you're using, depending on what voltage you're trying to send that at. And then now, if you turn that around and you receive or you emit light, it'll actually into that light emitting diode. It'll actually produce electricity. So there's no that game. So you can literally transmit that energy, light being across, and reflected through the atmosphere wherever you want, and have it. Let's say you send it 1 watt downstream, you're going to receive 1 watt downstream. So there's
no loss. You said there's no loss of whatever you're transferring, right?
Absolutely not. There's no loss. There's no resistance. And it is instant, and that's what makes it so. The human body is so susceptible to it because you can't see it. You don't recognize it in the reality that you're in. And so easily just notice, even though it's right in front of your face, when you see the forming embers that people think that's fire, and it's not. It's literally right.
So here we quote Arthur C. Clarke, Isaac Asimov, and Arthur C. Clarke were talking about the sci-fi writers. Arthur C. Clarke helped give the vision to NASA. Quote, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And it says right here, this is from engineering.com. Programmable matter is essentially what it sounds like. Matter that can change its physical properties, such as its shape and optical characteristics, based on a user's input. This definition ranges from something as simple as liquid crystals, which we're talking about, which can be altered by the application of an electric field, to something as sci-fi as the shape-shifting liquid metal T1000 from the Terminator franchise. And they have modular robotics, they have all these different types, metamaterials, all these different types of Claytronics, promise of programmable matter going.
Okay, so that's enough of that. What you were looking at as all these sparks running along the road in groups, in clusters, as if they were heading somewhere or as if the wind was blowing. First of all, there was no wind that day, no wind whatsoever. Jamie was there. He makes it very clear there was no wind. So those are not embers being blown about. Those are nanotechnology under programming to go and start fires in one place and skip the next house and go to the next house, etc. That's what that was. And that was confirmed by this nanomaterials PhD who remained anonymous. I talked to him for 2 hours on the phone I never got his name. Okay, so, all right, so then now we're the biology, from molecular biology to digital biology. This is what we're engaging in now. The idea that, for example, the most famous example perhaps, that the coronavirus has never been isolated. And what that is no, it hasn't. What they use now is not molecular biological entities, other than probably to take a bacteria are used a lot, and turn it into a vector for some other operation, etc. Believe it or not, if you have the frequency, you can just use the frequency and transmit it electromagnetically and make somebody sick. That's how it's working. It's not a matter of contagion. It really never was. And the book that goes into that and sort of gives the clue to that is Arthur Furstenberg's The Invisible Rainbow, a history of electronics or of electricity. And you see that transmission of frequency, as Tesla tried to tell us, leads to everything. And so you don't really need biology because well, I don't want to get into the virus. I will be writing a book on synthetic biology after I finish this 4th geoengineering book for the publisher Inner Traditions. So what has happened is that genetics has become a branch of information technology. It is pure information. It's digital information. It's precisely the kind of information that can be translated digit for digit, byte for byte, into any other kind of information and translated back again. This is a major revolution. I suppose it's probably the major revolution in the whole history of our understanding ourselves. And this is what we have to deal with now, because we're still being allowed to think that the old medical assumptions were true when they weren't. And that's why I'm writing the synthetic biology book. Okay, as above, so below, Hermes Trismegistus. And here's some fibers that are coming down from the sky. These are environmental fibers. And much the same is in our bodies and has been found. Here we have some fibers. Fibers. This is the kind that I began to see in Morgellons sufferers. Jan Smith was a wonderful woman. She had Morgellons very badly, and she died of it. This is from Harry Rhodes, who is a UK activist, very active in studying free energy systems. So here he's looking at a sore that has pretty much everything that looks kind of like a circuit board. And boy, that's spot on. Okay, then these are all tiny sensors. The sensors are very important. There's more nanotechnology, quantum dots. These are being found a lot in the live blood analysis by the people with the powerful dark field microscopes. Here's another example, a complementary metal oxide semiconductor in the blood. Synthetic organisms and living machines don't need to do that. There's Tony. I have something from Tony, how the fibers, filaments, biofilm initiate self-assembly. Tony spends a lot of time on that. I'm very grateful to him for that. Here he is, carbon nanotube. He blazed out, because he had Morgellons very bad. He studied how to make people better on his own body. Okay. Here's David Nixon today taking dark field, amazing photographs. There will be some in the synthetic biology book. David is a very lovely person, very dedicated. And this was the first bit of computer hardware at a nano scale that really caught my attention, because it's all right angles. It looks, again, we've got the circuit board kind of thing. And this is what the C19 shots were filled with. So it seems to me that people were being uploaded with computer parts at a nanoscale, and probably the software as well. This is in our blood, not just in a few people. We're talking a lot of people. I didn't have the, I think I'm at the end. Yeah, I am at the end. So that's how many I just kind of pulled really kind of rapidly, so that, you know, I could show you all that. All right, so now I'll bring you all back, if I can find you here. There's me, there's you. Okay, so, and stop share, okay.
Awesome. Wow. Oh, that was amazing. Thank you, Elana, so much. So if there's anybody with questions, please raise your hands, so then we can just have you guys ask questions. Is there anybody that would like to ask a question? I'm still overwhelmed, so I won't right now. But anyway, before we get into this, Elana, would you mind that I quickly get Paula here? And because obviously we've got to celebrate something, she sent me a text on Sunday, and she said, we just won the Platinum Award for Best Documentary, Short Best Female Director, Gold, and Best Editing, Silver at the Los Angeles Independent Short Awards. Congratulations.
Wow. That's great.
Hey, Jim.
Good job, Paula.
Hey, you're on the front line there, Mister. Yes, and we just ended up getting another 5 awards to the Indie Short Fest, and ended up Canada Short Awards. We ended up getting a award of accommodation, and was the Impact Film of the Year at the Ethos Film Awards, which is a purpose-driven film festival. It's vitally important that all the work, and I've never had a chance to meet you, Elana, but I've been working on this for about 27 years, and
wow.
Yeah.
Paula, if it makes you feel any better, I've talked to Elana on the phone at least 40 times, and sometimes 2 hours in a conversation. And we've never actually been in a room together like this. That's why I had to be here tonight.
We're all talking heads now.
Yeah.
You know, it's great because she's saying, you know, we're all coming together. And, you know, I know that Jean is on this somewhere. She's in there. And it is now not just all of us that are doing the great work to get this information out to the people of the planet, but it is also being there for each other. And as we're going to be on the front line in our own realms of support, we need to now stretch it out through that ripple in the pond. As it starts to spread, we are going to make the difference that has to be for our planet. And I thank you, Bettina. Very, very sweet acknowledgement there. It is just the beginning. It looks like we're going to be in Cannes, France. They're going to be shopping it next week in Cannes. And that's just the short. It's a 40-minute short. We just finished it. The wonderful Peter Nanasi, award-winning composer, is just finishing the composition. Will come in tomorrow. Brand new composition, a score that you're going to listen to real soon, you two. And
wow.
It's going to be very exciting. And
can I just say that we're making the best film on this that has ever been made.
We need the feature done. We need the feature. We need all that support. Yes, you're right. Jim is one of my stars in there. I've known Jim, I think the first time I talked to him was about 2012, before my house burned down from a lightning strike. I've
Yeah.
had multiple floods in different
And
locations.
cancer and carbon
Oh,
monoxide poisoning, and then COVID came along and the film just came to an abrupt halt. And
we just keep on going.
you are a freaking trooper, Paula. That's all I got to say.
We don't have a choice. There is
Yeah.
no choice.
Yeah.
We have to do what we have to do, because we only, as Miss Elana said earlier, it's like,
This hasn't been said, so for everybody who does not know, Gene Manning, who's here, co-authored the book Angels Don't Play This Harp, and Paula made the film. You probably seen it, Holes in Heaven, that was directed by Martin Sheen, that was narrated by Martin Sheen. So if you've ever seen that film about the book and about the technology with Martin Sheen talking, that's the Paula Randall Smith that says Green Wisdom Media on the screen. And she initially came to me to make a part 2 to this film. And I'm going to tell you what, it is morphed from a film about harp to a film about the entire spectrum of weather control, geoengineering, space weather modification, everything in between. And the way she's putting it together, my hat's off to you. I am not a filmmaker. I'm a nerd. Okay. I am not I am a nerd. Alana is an author. Okay. Like I, I nerd out on this, and she's a nerd.
I love you, nerds.
I'm a graphics artist. I'm not, but I'm not that. But yeah, Paula, amazing person who, I watched her film 20 years ago, which is insane. And for it to come full circle to where we are today, I told Paula, I said, I would like to get Alana in on this. I think I told you on the phone about it, Alana, that I'd like to get you in on this.
Yeah.
We're trying to raise the funds to get the film in theaters. We're not playing with this YouTube crap. I mean, we need the normies to know. So hopefully that's a handful of awards. You could have called me.
I had, it just happened like 2 days ago. And I wanted to make sure that, it was real before I ended up giving a call. Actually, you were on my list. I went off to shoot the eclipse yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to. But this is just the beginning. This film is essentially the sequel of Holes in Heaven, but it expanded so much. And a lot of that is because of Jim's also research educating me about the work with cloud seeding and how the combination of these technologies are really working together. As you know, Alana, the amount of technology that is out there and how it's expanded and how they're combining them together to be more as Nick Begich says, it's better. They're making it better, so to speak, better.
Yeah,
And
as the Lorax would say, they keep biggering and biggering.
Yeah, right.
This is just the first one coming out. We're going to end up having 3, 4, 5. We're just going to continue to do these films. We're going to continue to get people. We need that support. And that can go through Patina if you would like to end up helping Jim and I tell the story along with, and I'll talk to you, Miss Align, because, we need to, to meet and talk a little bit more about the work and the research that you're doing.
She's going to shove a camera team in your face, just so you know. She's already threatened me with one, so
we're coming after you. We're coming.
You're next.
But anyway, thank you so much, Bettina, for acknowledging me. And Gene is on. I'm hoping to get enough. I'm raising right now to get over to San Rafael later on this month to interview Gene and Beverly Rubik. And we're going to be talking about it's the new Living Expo in San Rafael, I think from the 19th through the 22nd of this month. And we're going to be talking about energy, new works as far as the incredible new technology that's for the betterment of humanity and not for the destruction of humanity. And also Gene and all those that are there that is going to talk about the energy, the biology of how our planet is closely aligned to us as humans and how that all works. So it's going to be very exciting. I'm hoping to be there. Thank you.
Oh, good to meet you. Good to meet you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Jim, for being ahead of the game.
I was going to talk to him later.
I know. All right. Well, anybody, so please go ahead and ask the questions you might have. It's amazing. Like I say, I'm totally thrilled that I have this summit happening here with all these amazing people. Go ahead.
So Alana and I have had these conversations in private. Might as well have them in public, right?
I don't know. What are you going to tell?
Many people, they see what I'm talking about, and they go, "Oh, Jim Lee just believes it's all jet fuel." And I keep trying to differentiate for the public between what is natural and how to tell the difference. And I think that that's the biggest part of the C word that really gets everybody screwed up. You know, when we're talking about secret military, government, DARPA funded projects, we could talk about anywhere from 10 to 1,000 planes. When you're talking about nanotechnology, especially like smart dust, any of these types of biological warfare. Hell, when I was talking to Dr. Rangasai Halthori, I made the point to him, you're the FAA and you make rules about what goes in the jet fuel. But if some dude in Russia decided to put let's say, 3 gallons of cesium-137 in a jet, they could literally irradiate everything along the way and you'd never even know. And in fact, our government's so crappy at their job, they'd pull a Fukushima and just turn the radiation detection network off and not tell a soul. When you're talking about nanotechnology, there are only a handful of instruments on the planet that can even see these things. So how is it, that we have an aerosol robotic network, we have an EPA air quality detection network, which literally doesn't even sample the chemicals in the air, doesn't sample any biological material in the air. It is literally a wet filter that collects a bunch of material and they weigh it. And that's called science today. We are grossly unprepared and unprotected from any of these technologies, whether it be just pollution from airlines and, to the tune of 13 million barrels of jet fuel per day filled with cancer causing chemicals, which are building up nanoparticles of metal in the sky, to what Elana focuses on. Everybody has, their focus. And what Elana's focusing on is, what I allude to all the time. During the 1950s through the 1970s, the Manhattan-Rochester Coalition, basically the U.S. Army Chemical Corps was spraying zinc cadmium sulfide from coast to coast, Operation Large Area Coverage, among others. These secret government sprayings were for the purpose of simulating nuclear fallout in cities. They called it aerosol behavior of, blah, blah, blah. This secret government program that happened in the 1950s through the 1970s was not made public until 2008. And that was the first mention of it. So while I fully acknowledge that, everything Elana's talking about is rooted in reality and is more than likely happening. There's evidence been collected. People need to recognize that there are certain things that we can do, as individuals to protect ourselves. Do everything you can to build your immune system. Deal with electricity. If you're not dealing with ambient EMR, electro smog, getting Wi-Fried, as I like to call it. If you're getting Wi-Fried and you're not earthing or grounding yourself, then you're not taking proper precautions. If you're not, turning your cell phone off at night, if you have one, turn it off at night. There's some, practical steps that we can take as individuals to protect ourselves. At least, start in your home, start with your family. If you're not taking these basic steps, then your body's going to easily fail when you're ingesting these other particles. And what I would like to say, about what I had notes, bro. I totally just failed at all of that. Uh, but Alana focuses a lot on the space fence too, and I think that that's one of the things that most people can't even wrap their head around. And when you have so many conspiracy theories that are, I mean, literally, just with the eclipse yesterday, there was oh, there's an engineered spraying operation that's going to happen all along the eclipse line. It's not even the moon that's going in front of the sun. It's what was it, Zaytu and Baja or something? I don't remember. So, you may know what I'm talking about, Alana. I couldn't even believe it. They were saying there's these two dark body planets. Then I saw a whole series of videos on it was Nibiru. And this is the kind of stuff that makes it almost impossible for us to talk about, these serious threats. When you got Yuval Noah Harari out there running around talking about turning everybody into cyborgs, and it's literally coming out of his mouth, you cannot just discount that. And again, with Clifford's spent decades collecting this stuff. That was one of the things I was going to mention. You had mentioned Lyme disease briefly, and we've had this. This is what now my brain has finally came back to me. Yeah, the Lyme disease connection. You mentioned Fort Detrick, and I had found another similar connection to Lyme disease and its weaponization, and that was from Plum Island.
Yeah, Plum Island, right?
Yeah,
right.
At Plum Island in 1991, Hurricane Bob took out the power on Plum Island Animal Disease Vector Control Biosafety Lab. Anyway, so when the Montauk monster at Plum Island. Anyway, when Hurricane Bob took out the power, I found a Department of Homeland Security let's say hearing that they were having with individuals that were running the project there, and they found mosquitoes feeding on petri dishes of blood and fecal matter mixed with biological weapons grade, everything. So what happened in Wuhan happened here in America in 1991. And that Lyme disease, and it's just my personal opinion, looking at the trends and the dates and the times and the spreads and the reports of this, that a weaponized version of Lyme disease escaped that lab during that hurricane and has made its way, especially into deer ticks here in the South. Deer ticks, my father has Lyme disease, and I'm not going to say anything else about that. But I met a guy named Jeremy Murphy, who was a Lyme disease, a Morgellons survivor / advocate. And he, had basically come to the conclusion, after having the fibers in his body tested by numerous individuals, that they were basically like calcification. So the same thing that your fingernails do naturally, this disease was causing fibers to grow from every part of your body. So your body's like well, not naturally, your body's producing fingernail like structures. Those fibers are just the same, almost identical in nature to the fingernail itself. And it stems from this weaponized version of Lyme disease. So that begs the question, has this also been sprayed aerially? This is one of the questions that I have with Alana all the time. And Whereas I'm more inclined to believe that, just like with the Wuhan lab, they let a bug loose and they really don't care, damn the public, it was our fun bug and it got out, deal with it, people. And if you talk about it, we'll just say you're a tinfoil hatter. But at the same time, you cannot rule out the fact that Umbrella Corp, I love the video games references. Um, I'm looking at chat. You can't rule out the fact that if it's happened in the past, it's happening now. It will always happen. Our government has always had a bone to pick with the ionosphere. They've tried to destroy it numerous times in the past. They did it with the Westford Needle Project when they dumped 280 million antennas, little needle antennas in space.
Copper, yeah.
Yeah.
Iron.
Yeah,
Iron.
they just put their little they're called dipole antennas. They just dumped 280 million needles in space. They failed 3 times to actually get them to deploy, but you can find those still in space today and in our North Pole. They tried to blow up our ionosphere, and they did that with nuclear explosions. This led to the Limited Test Ban Treaty after Starfish Prime and Operation Hardtack Teak and all of these things. The point I'm trying to make is the military hates the ionosphere because it's unpredictable. Because when the solar winds interact with our ionosphere and our signals intelligence and our ability to communicate with submarines and any kind of military instrument on the planet is disrupted because of this waving ionosphere, that's why they want finite control of it. They've talked about replacing the ionosphere. One jackass literally said, "We want to destroy the Van Allen belts. I don't even see why they're necessary." I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So what you're talking about is definitely a real thing. And I don't think that people understand the ramifications of the hubris of the scientists and the DOD, 3-letter agencies and their defense contractors that are just making bucks hand over fist. Damn the ramifications for our entire biosphere, because what most people don't realize is the Schumann resonance, or the heartbeat of our planet, is produced by solar winds and the fluctuation of our ionosphere. We're to the point now where we're in such a sea of electromagnetic waves that you cannot detect with the best instruments the 7.83 hertz signal of our planet, which we have been.
And our brains of yesterday.
Yeah. And that is necessary. In fact, when the military did a study on deep underground military bases, they realized that people's health deteriorated very rapidly until they put 7.83 hertz generators down in those deep underground military bases. And they realized that if they provided an artificial Schumann resonance, those people were perfectly healthy and lived happily. So by destroying that Schumann resonance, they are literally interrupting the biological electromagnetic cycle of life worldwide.
Yeah, and that's where I want to enter now.
Go ahead.
Getting into a lecture there, but I want to say that that's exactly the point at which I come in, because one of the biggest parts that makes me write and devote my entire life to this stuff is that I am highly aware of the power that secret societies exercise on this plane of existence. And they have for thousands and thousands of years. So I'm not going to go into, talking about that, but I want to say that that's the key. Yes, the military will always have that military mind. And it is the people's job to keep them from basically thinking war all the time, and seeing the value of weaponizing all of nature is what they're talking about.
That's right.
But it's really that transhuman piece, Jim, that where the pedal comes to the metal, or the metal to the pill, whatever that is. That really is the point here. They are what they are, and they were what they were before World War II. But now there is something that has built up, which is, yeah, I think Harari is terrific. He's the one who tells us the most. He's
can't
telling
shut
us
up.
exactly what they're thinking. Exactly. And that's how they are. That's the inhuman element in these people, in these secret societies that see that the important thing is not the individual human being at all. It is that the secret society will continue over the next 1,000 years with the same sort of wet dream that the secret society had before this era. But the transhuman part now is going full thrust. And that's, to me, the major problem here. That's the major problem. Is yes, the weaponizing, that's not new. They'll weaponize their grandmother if they could. So the idea that they are doing it for what to them is a higher purpose, this synthetic biology thing, it's a higher purpose. They are going to turn the human being into a transhuman that can be one, can make it past the Van Allen belts, excuse me, and that's a wet dream for sure. So the human being is, we're going from human 1.0 to human 2.0, and that's where I'm coming in with my guns blazing. And that's what the synthetic biology book will go deeply into from a more esoteric vantage point. We can't just use the old thinking to look at this. We've got to have some new thinking. I mean, for a long time, they said that Einstein had said, let's see, I've got it here. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that created them. No, Einstein did not say that, but I don't know what genius did. It's true. And I want to present a whole new way of thinking about this from another vantage point, wherein we're deeply seated in the beauty of our humanity, the beauty of our humanity, the goodness of our humanity, the truth of our humanity, and then deal with the military from there. That's kind of what I'm doing now through this publisher, because Inner Traditions, they're very happy to have a writer who has some spiritual ideas. They're the ones who produced the Tao of Physics. They're the ones who produced the Dancing Wuli Masters. These are the people, and they're the ones who came to me. I didn't go looking for them. They came to me because they know how I write. They know what I'm saying. I am a spiritual being having a material experience here as a human being, and I'm really ticked off about this. I do not want these secret societies running everything because they have no respect for the human being's own evolution, and they will not support it. So, both guns blazing, Jim.
On that note, I'm going to say something controversial.
Oh, no, not you.
No, never. Would you say, and this is just a personal opinion, but would you agree that the transgender ideology that's being pushed today, coupled with the Neuralink, oh, we're doing this to save people with disabilities, or, it's going to be beneficial. I see these two ideologies as priming the public for the eventuality, which is some freakish version, hellish version of Cyberpunk 2077, where, everybody's parts out, Brave New World type stuff, where, the rich and wealthy, the super, filthy rich, they get the upgrades. Everybody else will be sold on the cheap parts to begin with. You'll be augmenting your legs, your eyes. You'll be able to see like a barn owl. Oh, it's going to be great. And until it breaks, and then they decide, oh, you know what? You're not part of the cool kids club. And, you won't get the upgrades. But those, in the secret societies, those that are part of the Vanguard group, you know what I mean? The BlackRock Vanguard owners, You know, they'll get all the cool toys that upgrade that don't actually leave you broken down on the side of the road, so to speak. I see this whole, you know, especially with the pushing of transgender ideology on young children
Yeah,
as indoctrination moving towards a transhuman agenda.
absolutely. Absolutely right. No question about it. And it's everything that'll work. They don't care. They don't care if it's wrong. They don't care if it's evil. They don't care if it's violent. They don't care anything about that because they disparage the human being for pursuing its own evolution in its own time. We are not, our evolution as conscious beings is not subject to these secret societies. Those days are long gone, thank you, God, because we ourselves are free will beings. And I want to put us forward and say to people, don't do what they say just because they make it look cool, because you know it's not going to be cool. You know how these people are. We've dealt with them for thousands of years. We know they take our children and they rape them. They murder them. They use them for blood sacrifices. These are not the people that we care about. We care about ourselves and our evolution, and we do not want their synthetic biology, bioengineered type of evolving or devolving us. We don't want it. We just don't want it, and we need to really take it seriously. Is that your friend?
Can I just quickly jump in? So there's a question here. Troy, I call on you. Troy, come on.
Was that Troy?
Troy's muted. Yeah.
Trying to teach
Go ahead,
Troy.
Troy.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
All right, so a lot of great information. I got some more books to read now, I guess.
Lucky you.
Yeah, hey. I sent you a message, Jim, in the chat there about Lyme disease. I've been studying plant medicine for a number of years, and there's some studies about Japanese knotweed, and I don't know if you looked into that.
I did see that. I've got my browser open, so I've already bookmarked it.
Right.
I've got about 15 tabs open. I've been just keep bookmarking. I'm that nerd. I will go back and read all of this at a later date.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah,
and,
I saw that.
And so my question is, I've got a talk coming up with one of our federal politicians here in Canada, and I'll have 15 minutes to talk to him, and I have to try to sell him on the fact that climate change is geoengineering, that we are creating the climate change through geoengineering. And so I'm wondering, there's so much, and I've only got 15 minutes to talk to him, right? And so I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for him to digest. I'm going to talk about all the patents that are, the fact that there's all these patents, and that they Operation Popeye. So there's facts that these things do exist in the normie world, right? Because I'm dealing with somebody, if I start talking to them about nanoparticles and nanodust and stuff like that, I'm totally going to lose them. And so I'm wondering if either one of you guys or anybody on the chat has a silver bullet that will really hammer it home. And then I can use this when I talk to other people as well. And because a lot of people they won't look up, they're too busy to look up. And then you try to explain to them what's going on, and they say, well, the news told me that that's just condensation. So you're just out to lunch. And so I'm wondering if anybody here might have a suggestion for me to help me with this talk.
Well, right away, Jim, before you start, I want to recommend that you go and read the Rhode Island Geoengineering Act. It's long, but there's just portions of it where she describes, I know the person who wrote the document.
Jolie Diane.
Yeah, Susan, her name's Susan.
Jolie Diane, Zero Geoengineering.
Yeah, no, she didn't write.
You're thinking of Suzanne Marr.
No, I'm not. No, I'm
okay.
Anyway, okay. So go and just pick up the language of it, and see all the list of things that she lists as far as what they want to prevent the geoengineering from bringing down on their people. And then you get a sense of what he just has probably never, if it's a he probably has never recognized that it's this and this and this and just use it to inspire you as to what to zero in on. That's what I recommend. I have not read the Tennessee one. I have not seen it yet.
It's literally like it's one run-on sentence. That's
it's not like the Rhode Island one. The Rhode Island one was really excellent.
Yeah. So Jolie Diane from zerogeoengineering.com put forth the Rhode Island one. It got sent to committee. It died there.
Right.
The New Hampshire bill happened. They had a massive failure on day one. I covered it live, of course. And then Representative Jason Gerhard, we ended up talking on the phone, and they came back to the second day of hearings, and because they changed their terminology and their approach, they were actually able to get through the mental blockade, which you're gonna inevitably face with every politician, because A, they're not scientists. B, they're regular people, and they tend to believe what the consensus believes. So if when you hit that mental wall and they say, but I was always taught this as condensation trails. It's condensation. It's just water condensation. You got to hit them back with condensating on what? The different, and then the typical argument that people will make is, well, here's a bird breathing in cold temperature. That's condensation. But what happens? It disappears. It doesn't turn into a cloud. What makes a cloud? You have to have a chemical in the center of that water vapor that condenses and turns into ice. So the response to him is condenses on what? Now, what you need to focus on is not that which you can prove, but sowing doubt in the representative that he cannot prove his argument.
Yeah.
It is not on you to prove that the chemicals are raining down on us. It is the government's fault. It's malfeasance in not testing properly rainfall water samples or air. The fact that our governments, both Canada and the United States, have no system for testing rainfall at all. When I went to the weather modification conference, the 21st conference on planned and inadvertent weather modification, I interviewed William Cotton, who steered hurricanes during Project Storm Fury, and a whole bunch of other geoengineers and scientists. I talked to James Roger Fleming, who wrote the history of weather control. But I talked to the guys at UCAR and NCAR. That's the National Corporation for Atmospheric Research. They are the head of all weather modification research in the world. They're in Boulder, Colorado. And when I went up to them and I said, they were building open source, weather stations that people could build out of PVC pipes, and giving them the schematics so they could build them themselves and put them anywhere in the world. And I asked them a simple question. Could we do single particle mass spectrometry on rainfall samples? And the dude literally turned red. I have this on videotape. You can see it. It's on climateviewer.com/tag/AMS 2018 or something like that. But AMS 2018 is American Meteorological Society 2018. And the reason why is because that is where the silver bullet lies. If you force your representative you don't even have to have him admit it, but you have to just say, from a logical standpoint, if there's pollution, poisonous pollution, because we know that metal nanoparticles are in jet fuel or burnt from jet fuel, make clouds. 75% of cloud seeds in those clouds are man-made metals. They are raining down on us. You have done nothing to ever test for any of this. Hopefully, if they actually get the equipment to test for it, they're never going to tell us. That's why I've been focused on, building a citizen-powered network, one you can buy and put in your own backyard. But what I would say to, your representative is, there has been no tests, zero, on what's in the rain coming down. And Bettina has tried this herself. We've gone through why, nothing was detected. The reason why is because any kind of water sample testing or air quality testing that's currently out there, they refer to it as PM 2.5, or particulate matter of a 2.5 micron. A nanometer, a nanoparticle, is 1,000 times small, well, 2,000 times smaller than a 2.5 micron chemical. So between the expense of the equipment to actually test for nanoparticles in general and the government's lack of ever giving a fuck, that's why we are in this situation right now. So what I would say to them is this: look, every single day I observe planes creating clouds that block out the sun. I also know for a fact that the chemicals in those clouds are highly toxic, and there have been no environmental impact studies done by any agency on the planet ever. And it is your duty to protect us from pollution. That's why I focus on that topic, because it's a starting point. I want to get to the point where we can catch them spraying nano bugs, but fuck if we don't even start there with the most simplest argument that they are poisoning everybody on the planet. Just the commercial aviation by itself poisoning everything on the planet. That's why our bees are dying. That's why our trees are catching on fire like crazy. All of it. If we start there, we can eventually get to the point where we can single out individual bad actors that are intentionally geoengineering, intentionally spraying for X, Y, or Z, or experimenting on the public. But until we get to a point where we gather that data, the Tennessee ban that just occurred, it has no teeth whatsoever. The Federal Aviation Act basically prohibits states from interfering in interstate commerce or any airplane traffic whatsoever. I try to explain this to people afterwards. Of course, they don't want to hear it. They think that going the state route of passing laws is going to matter to the federal government. But the Weather Modification Policy Act of 1976 and the Weather Modification Reporting Act of 1972 clearly state that the federal government does not have to report to the states what it is doing in the areas of weather modification and climate engineering. I am certain that the Canadian government has a similar policy act. Dan is your man for that information. We went through it. I shared his 3-part series on the laws in Canada. You guys have a very similar policy that basically states the federal government can supersede any of the regional areas. So even if you pass, like, say, one in Alberta and you just don't want it in BC, doesn't matter when the federal government can just override that. There are certain, venues where that is the truth. And this is one of them. It's the sky. So when we're talking about the sky, the state doesn't have sovereignty over, doesn't own that column of air in its borders. That's not a thing anymore. So that's where I would start is I see clouds. They're coming from planes. They affect crop production. They affect solar uptake. Make it personal. Lie, bullshit the guy. My solar panels aren't working because these freaking planes keep blocking out the sun and my kids are getting ill. I did some studies. The jet aircraft fuel is highly toxic, has Sera 313 chemicals. According to the EPA, that's cancer-causing chemicals. CERCLA chemicals, also cancer-causing chemicals. They are being sprayed on us to the tune of 16 million barrels per day, 130,000 flights per day, 39.5 million flights per year. That's where I would start. Hit them with the numbers and the fact that they have done nothing to protect us from these chemicals. Or if you want to really punch them in the balls, just go to climateviewer.com/serious clouds matter. I've got 5 different peer-reviewed journal entries that say Greenland ice sheet melts more when it's cloudy. Hit them with the 9/11 report on how the diurnal temperature range changes because of cirrus clouds. When planes make cirrus clouds, that is the only greenhouse there is. We do not live in a closed system. We live in an open system. A closed system is a greenhouse. Why? Because it has glass or plastic and the heat comes in and gets trapped on the way out. That's why it's warmer in a greenhouse. Greenhouse gases are not a thing. You can go to co2coalition.org. Dr. William Happer, Dr. Willie Soon, Climate, the movie just came out. If nobody's seen it yet, it is freaking phenomenal. The best summary of all of this I've ever seen. But clearly, the CO2 agenda is falling apart. And we know that planes creating artificial clouds modify the weather and the temperature at ground level to a greater extent than all of the greenhouse gases combined. And Olivier Boucher from the IPCC, who writes the freaking reports on this, said so when I testified at the EPA back in 2015. So this is not even a question anymore. The question is, are they willing to do something about toxic nanoparticles filling our sky? And
And our
will we
bodies.
ever, yeah, I mean, what you showed it, what goes up must come down. If it ends up in the stratosphere, its residence time is anywhere from 2 months to 2 years. If it's in the troposphere, below the tropopause, where all the weather occurs in the world is very turbulent, 2 to 4 months. So any of those chemicals, those nanoparticles, they live about 2 to 4 months before you're breathing them and you think your organic garden is organic. Hell no. So I agree with Elana. There is no natural weather because between large scale cloud seeding projects like the Chinese covering the entire Tibetan plateau in 100 to 200,000 cloud seeding generators. In the United States, we have approximately 3 to 5,000 cloud seeding generators along the Rocky Mountains. We're changing the weather on a global scale every single day. So of course, none of this is natural. I would just try to not overwhelm him because politicians are kind of like cockroaches when you turn the lights on in the middle of the night and they tend to run and scurry away and then shove some, intern out there to say, he's busy, I'll take your message and we'll get back to you. Try to just, speak in the lowest common tongue. You know what I mean? Keep it simple, stupid is the oldest saying for a reason. Get them engaged by asking questions. Don't make definitive statements. Why hasn't the government ever tested the rainfall? Why are you not testing for nanoparticles? Why? That's
Right.
the best approach that I've found with dealing with politicians, with dealing with scientists. Chris Fallon thought I was a fucking nut until I literally hit him with so many honest questions that he could not answer. And then he finally, we developed a relationship and he was the director of HARP and he was up there doing air glow experiments. And I told him, I said, I don't agree with anything you're doing. Like, you should not be fucking with the ionosphere. Like, what are you doing, man? But he was a radio frequency, nerd, and he enjoyed what he did. He thought it was cool math. I don't see I don't see all these people as angels and demons. I see people in shades of gray. We all have evil. We all have a capacity for good. And even some of the geoengineers that I've talked to, I honestly believe that some of the people, and I'll even say David Keith, love him or hate him, the son of a bitch honestly thinks that global warming is real and that this may be the only way to save the planet. He honestly believes that shit.
Yeah, I know.
That's the scary part about him. And just like with Robert Oppenheimer believed that they would save more lives than they took by creating the atom bomb. They believed that they could save more lives and end World War III by creating the nuclear bomb. And boy, did that turn out wrong. And boy, did he regret it. Because look where we are today.
Right.
Quick note, sorry to interrupt here. We filed an FOI a long time ago. It was actually in July or August of last year, and it finally hit our inbox. It was a very big and detailed FOI, and it came back. It is 285 pages because I was asking, what the heck are you doing? So anyway, so it's on our website on geoengineeringfreecanada.com/document.
Dan, get on that right now. I'm assigning that to Dan.
I actually already looked at it page by page. I did. It's a big, honestly, it's a big nothing burger because it's all about Roundup, if that's the one you're talking about, Bettina. And it's like, to me, they just almost randomly chose this like Roundup spraying, glyphosate and all, and the other Aquest, I forget the name.
So you asked for aerial spraying and they gave you herbicide.
Nice.
Oh.
Sons of bitches.
I'm gonna have to go, everybody.
Well,
2
Elana,
hours is my max. I'm dying here.
absolutely. Well, Elana, it was such a pleasure. Well, thank you so much for
No, it
coming.
was great. It was
Great
great.
presentation, Elana. Great presentation.
Yeah, and Jim and I got to spar. I love it. I love it. All right.
I love you, Elana.
Love you.
You know that.
I know. Okay, everyone. Blessings. Good night.
Good night, Elana. Well,
And when you have the tape, send me a copy and I'll post it.
I will, absolutely. I will. Well, whoever wants to stay on, more than welcome to. If there's anybody who wants to chat more, we can probably go on forever. Troy, is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think that I already had a ton of information, right? I talked to Bettina about this last week, and she sent me a bunch of information, and I already had quite a bit, but some of the stuff that was discussed tonight, I'd never really considered some of it and put it all together. But I don't want to go into great detail. I want to keep it simple, stupid, and just try to make it as easy for like a 5-year-old to understand. So I think that the stuff that Jim pointed out will really be helpful, and I really appreciate that, Jim. Thank you. And Dan, the links, I saved those links. I'll be checking them out as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Dan's definitely got the goods, man. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I was just going to mention it, like Troy. I don't know to what extent you know you're familiar with Jim's work, but actually, I was in Cuba a couple of weeks ago, and I had planned on doing absolutely zero work, just totally disconnecting from the internet. But the only work I did was actually watch Jim's video interview with Del Bigtree. So Troy, and I took a bunch of notes. So Troy, I would strongly encourage you to watch that particular interview, because for me personally, it just answered so many questions and doubts I had and holes in my own kind of reasoning and everything. And that's where I saw that particular chart also. It looks like the periodic table of elements that Jim masterfully prepared. So I would like, yeah, sure, use the KISS rule, keep it simple, but maybe you can just print a few materials. That particular chart I would bring, and maybe you can leave it to him. Maybe Jim has thoughts on that. And I also put
I'll give you a link
another
directly to
document.
it. You can download it.
Yeah, and without getting too complicated, the other interview I watched was with Jim and the pilot from that has 53 years flying experience, Graham Hood. And in that video, Jim brought up something very interesting. It was from the Royal the Royal Aeronautical Society, and there was a slide PDF called Greener Design. and he mentioned that something very important that he did not have during the Del Bigtree interview, but he, as a viewer or commenter, pointed
A member of
that
my
PDF
Telegram
to
chat.
him with the cooling contrails controversy slide, which compares the avoiding warming contrails with creating cooling contrails. But the reason I mention this now is not to complicate things, is just to ask Jim if he was aware, because that dates from 2021, but I found a briefing paper from the same Royal Aeronautical Society that dates from April 2023 called Contrails and Contrail Management Greener by Design Specialist Group. And this is I put the quotes in the chat area here, and unless I'm reading it incorrectly, they have I'll just read two quick passages. In their introduction, they have, however, it is now time to also consider the largest net warming component of aviation's emissions, namely contrails and contrail-induced cirrus clouds. And on page 3, they have a big call out in orange font color, very big, very short sentence, but very telling, unless I'm misreading it. It says, quote, the current overall effect of contrails and contrail cirrus is a net warming about 1.5 times that of aviation's CO2. So maybe Jim can correct me, but the way I read it, in other words, they're saying the aggregate aircraft-induced contrail cirrus clouds have a warming effect that is 1.5 times greater than the actual CO2 emissions produced from the aircraft themselves. Would that be correct, Jim, or am I misreading that?
They're kind of downplaying it. If you want to look at it, and this will give you some good talking points, I'll drop this in chat, but this was my speech to the EPA in 2015. And it's actually much worse than they're making it out. I mean, they always try to round down the numbers, but these are the two main quotes. Contrails formed by aircraft can evolve into cirrus clouds indistinguishable from those formed naturally. These spreading contrails may be causing more climate warming today than all the carbon dioxide emitted by aircraft since the start of aviation. And I have reference numbers for these, like you'll see it right there on my speech. Another researcher said, and this was Olivier Boucher, a single aircraft operating conditions favorable for persistent contrail formation appears to exert a contrail-induced radiative forcing some 5,000 times greater than recent estimates of the average persistent contrail radiative forcing from the entire civil aviation fleet. To put it another way, they tried to assume how much sunlight was either being reflected or trapped. And that's called albedo. Is it SRM? Is it solar radiation management? Or is it Earth radiation management, which is called cirrus cloud thinning? These are the two major. Stratosphere aerosol injection, that's SRM. Cirrus cloud thinning, that's dealing with the chemtrails that they're telling you are just water vapor. Chill out, you put your tinfoil hat on, shut up. Olivier Boucher came to the conclusion that a single plane was trapping more heat, 5,000 times more heat than their estimate was for every single plane in the air together. They were that wrong about it. So now that they've come to these conclusions, and these largely came about as a result of some research that was done around 9/11. During the 9/11 groundings, after they crashed into the Twin Towers, they grounded all flights in the United States for 3 days. During that 3-day period, the diurnal temperature range widened greatly. So what that means is where it would normally be 70 degrees during the day and then say 50 degrees at night, it was 70 during the day and it dropped down to like 40 or maybe even 35 at night. I'm using Fahrenheit. Sorry for all you Celsius people. Go do the math yourself. I don't Celsius, unfortunately. The point is that they realized, and any redneck around here or anybody who's ever been outside at night recognizes that on nights where it's cloudy, it's warmer. The reason why is because when long wave radiation makes its way to the surface of the planet, normally at night on a clear, starry night, it's colder, partially because the fact that humidity is coming down by the way you're breathing all those nanoparticles at that point. But also it's cooler because that heat is able to escape back into space. Back to the point I said, we're not in a closed system. We are not in a greenhouse. The only greenhouse is clouds. Svensmark is another brilliant individual who's talked about the climate cloud conundrum. And the reality, this in Willie Soon, Dr. Willie Soon, and Dr. William Happer also agree on this. In the world of climate change, it comes down to this: solar activity, cosmic rays, cloud formation, water vapor, CO2, or greenhouse gases. That's what affects the temperature of the planet, the weather of the planet, cosmic rays. The sun affects our ionosphere. The ionosphere is our shield of the Starship Enterprise. If it weren't for that force field, cosmic rays would fry us all to death in an instant. Whenever the shield is weakened, those cosmic rays penetrate more deeply during solar minimums. During solar maximums, the ionosphere is highly charged. There's more energy available. That's when Tesla would say, hey, bro, we could get all the free energy we want, and there's way more of it right now. But during a solar minimum, we have a weakened sun, we have a weakened ionosphere, cosmic rays tend to penetrate more deeply, we have more cloud cover. Because in order to make clouds, you need three things. You need water vapor, you need cosmic rays, and you need a cloud seed, something for it to stick to. So with that combination is what drives the climate. That's where climate change may be human related, but reality, the sun way overpowers all that. In fact, there are studies that if you watch Climate the movie, this one even blew my mind, where our solar system is in the Milky Way, and as it passes through the bands of the Milky Way, coincide with the hot peaks that have happened over the last couple billion years. So how much do we have to do with this? Very little. But can we screw with the weather on a worldwide basis any given day? You darn right we can. But long-term trends, that's kind of out of our power at this point. So I go back to focus on that which you can control. You can control lobbying the hell out of your government to do something about the airline industry, which has never had any kind of regulations or lawsuits levied against them for their pollution. That's where you start. And they already are feeling the pressure. That's why you're seeing things like the contrail avoidance group, Greener by Design. That's why you're seeing Ulrich Schumann from Germany's DLR saying, let's make less warming, more cooling contrails predictable for operational planning. They want to stall as long as they can. And they love us arguing about the C word and calling it geoengineering and saying it's all a secret government program because it gives them cover to continue to do what they've been doing all along. Plain farts and clouds.
Yeah. All right. Is there anybody else? Yeah. Okay. We've got another question here. Daryl, go ahead.
I'll just say that we're in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, small city, about 250,000 people in the heart of the prairies. And there's nothing random about our harp tarp, as I call it, or our gray tarp that's over our city practically every day. And I've been monitoring this for well over 8 months now. There's a fellow in Edmonton named Jim Albert who's been monitoring it for 5 years. And there's no accident, there's no random sequence of commercial jets that are causing it to be right over the largest city in Saskatoon. You go 15 or 20 miles out of the city and you've got blue skies. We can actually see the lines around the city some days. It's absolutely like somebody threw a tarp right on it. There is constant planes flying here. We're a small city. We don't have a lot of air traffic. And so, and we're trying to find out where these planes come from. Like, where are these? Are they coming from Old Lake, Alberta, and the military base there? Are they coming from, where are they coming from? Because we don't have a lot of commercial airline traffic in this province. So,
Saskatoon has an international airport, though.
It's called International Airport. We have.
I'm just looking at it right now. I'm just curious. I'm always curious.
There's people that track the planes through the, what do you call them? One of these, those apps that says that. There's a lot of them that are flying up there that aren't on the radar. They're not numbered. They're not tracked. There's no way we can track them.
Try this guy out right here. I'm dropping it in chat.
All the ADVS exchange.
Yeah, all the other ones are crap.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I have a question for Jim about that, and maybe you in Saskatoon, you can use this to see if they have military planes, because this is a question I asked Jim, and Jim, don't worry, I know you're very busy. So don't feel bad for not replying my email, but like right over my city, over my house here, there was a U.S. military stratotanker, case C-35, if I'm not mistaken, a stratotanker. This is for refueling, like military jets. I have no idea what it was
There's
doing.
one headed towards Ontario right now.
I made a media inquiry to both Transport Canada and the Department of National Defense with many details, including photographs and video and the screenshots of the ADBS exchange and all that. This plane had no call sign, and they completely ignored my request. So I don't know. Jim, do you have any ideas what the hell a stratotanker was doing above my city, leaving long trails, of course, but any thoughts, ideas?
The Canadian is it the Royal Air? No, that's
Yeah.
Is it still the Canadian Royal Air Force?
It's still just
CAF.
Air Force now. Yeah.
Yeah, so they hold joint exercises. Basically, you have to understand that the relationship between the U.S. and Canada is they are part of the Five Eyes. So being a Five Eyes member means you're at the tip top of the world. The United States, U.S., Canada, New Zealand, Australia. It was referred to as AUSCAN-ZUCAS as far back as 1970. This followed World War II with the US-UK agreement to share all signals intelligence. It grew to the Five Eyes, then the Nine Eyes, and now the 13 Eyes. But basically, we actually have something called the ABCA Army as well, which is America, Britain, and Canada Joint Army. So basically, the United States military and the Canadian military are pretty much one and the same. So if you see a KC-135 flying over Canada, it's probably refueling Canadian fighter planes that are up there doing doing testing, preparedness. I live near Shaw Air Force Base. We have planes constantly taking off and going to a bombing range. I don't know if you got a bombing range anywhere near you, but the point is they go up, they fly for hours, they practice refueling. Refueling practice is a normal thing because in wartime, you might be required to stay aloft, for 24 hours. And a pilot will be regularly tested on their ability to stay in a plane for 24 hours. I mean, imagine being stuck in a F-16 or, F-35 for 24 hours, and you got to go up and refuel 4 or 5 times during that period. So yeah, I see it regularly. You know, we got K-35s and KC-135s. There's a C-130 just now leaving Canada. But yeah, if you just go to, when you go to your ADSB exchange, there's a U, H, and a T icon right at the top of the screen. If you click on U, that'll filter out everything but military planes. So that's a good way to start. But even so, Flight Radar will take, let's say, celebrities off of there, politicians. ADSB Exchange is unique in that it is an open source networks of, you can't even see the states. It's a fact. I mean, like it's a blanket down here. So what I would think, when I'm looking at Saskatoon, right here in Saskatchewan, you can see that there are several international flight paths, and you can actually turn on the highways in the sky if you want to ever actually look at these things to find out what are called air service routes, what they are, so you can get used to where you should be expecting to see these planes flying. This is what leads to the grids in the sky, is that basically the operators that control where these flights are routed, they're all pretty much flying on the same, line. Some of them might be at 10,000 feet worth of different altitude, but they're flying by, there's visual flight, and then there's basically automated flight. And 99% of flights out there are automated flights. So they go up, they take off. That's all manual. Once they get up, they punch in the numbers that the people told them to do, and the plane flies its damn self to wherever it's going.
Yep.
And they can remotely control how much fuel is burned per hour, at what altitude, and all of these things. And when you consider what Dan brought up earlier, that when the contrail avoidance group is talking about, let's make cooler contrails during the day by intentionally flying into supersaturated regions, they recognize that creating clouds at night trap heat, and that if they create clouds during the day, they can claim that they're cooling the planet as long as they're gone by nightfall. This is a carbon tax scam. And that's my personal opinion. If you look at it and you follow the money, because climate change, because carbon taxes, they can get what are called carbon offsets or carbon credits by saying, yes, we emit a lot of CO2 and you guys think that's a naughty thing, but look what we did with our clouds. We're cooling by day. We're not making clouds at night. Contrail avoidance group. We're not making clouds at night, so we're not trapping heat at night anymore. So our net benefit to society is we're using our pollution as a geoengineering solution. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that part makes sense. Yeah, just the tarp that goes over our city, like you can go north, south, east, west, and it's not anywhere else. 20 miles.
I'll tell you the exact opposite. I live in Sumter, South Carolina. I live near a Shaw Air Force Base. I work in the next county, which is literally a 25-minute drive. Okay. My sky is pristine. Damn near every day, all day, air day, all year long. Very rarely do I ever see any kind of persistent contrail, plane farts blocking out the sun. But when I drive over that Sumter County border into Manning and I'm going to work, I can literally walk out the front door of the government building that I'm protecting with my pistol and look up, and it's tic-tac-toe world. And it's only 25 minutes between here and there.
Right.
The reason why it happens here is because we have an Air Force base and we have a bombing range. And if you look at that, those are called NOTAMs, or notice to airmen, aka no-fly zones. So what ends up happening is, because all the planes are routed around Sumter, they all get squished into a nice little box right over Manning. And they get shit on because our military doesn't want planes flying and violating military airspace. There may be something similar happening with you. I'm not familiar with the area. I don't have all the answers, but think of, try to think of these kind of alternative explanations, because every time I've, thought I had it figured out, I realized I was freaking wrong. But, and I could be wrong, like, I'm not there. I'm not observing what you're observing. You know what I mean? It's an individual perspective kind of thing. But I would at least try ADSB Exchange. You may find a lot more luck with being able to track the flights. The other thing is, if you really want to know, go buy yourself a Nikon Coolpix P900. I can go grab the camera if you want to see it, but 83 times optical zoom. The P1000 has 105 times optical zoom. One's about $500, the other's about $1,000. But even though they were made like 5 years ago, they're still the best opticals, long range optical zoom you can buy in a single camera, where you don't have to go buy some monstrous telescopic lens and put it on a tripod. You can just whip it out and zoom right in and smile at the pilot.
Right. Yeah. I've seen those on videos, so people using them. Yeah. So good. Well, thank you.
No problem, man.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess it's been 2.5 hours. That's been great, and I'm so grateful. I'm totally overwhelmed that this was happening today. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm grateful. Thank you very much for everybody. Is there anything else we should discuss before we wrap it up? It's like I say, it's almost it's been 2.5 hours now. Daryl, just on one note, please get in touch so we can set up something and we can talk and that kind of thing. All right. So I saved the chat. I stopped the recording now, and it's going to be up. And whoops. And